Aloha, welcome back to You Are Your Own Beloved. Let's assume the position. Take a tall spine, shoulders relax. Close your eyes, focus internally on your third eye. Bring your thumb and your pointer finger gently together to touch. Deep breath in through your nose, filling up your belly. Pause at the end of your inhalation. Audible exhale through your mouth for twice as long. Pausing at the end of the exhale. Again, deep breath in. One more time. Breathe into your beautiful heart. So remember, as you exhale, visualize all your thought forms dissolving. In yoga, we call them vrittis. So visualize the vrittis just. Because when you can quiet your mind, you can think from your heart. And when you think from your heart, then you'll find inner peace, inner wellness, inner joy, vitality, better health. All that is good when you think from your heart. So that's why we need to quiet the mind. So even most of us, I definitely am talking about myself right now, and I'm going to say the majority of the collective of humanity live from the mind, from the head. And it's kind of how we've been programmed and trained, which is the left side of our brain, which is our linear, rational, logical side of our brain, to live from that side. And that's where we lose our connection to the divinity within us and the divinity to our godly parents, our ancestors, just like our divine connection to the Creator. We lose that because the energy, the downloads, the transmission of divinity, whatever you want to call it, light information, comes down through the right side, through the multiverse, down, through your soul star, through your crown chakra, through the right side of your brain, and into the heart chakra. It doesn't come through the left. The left side is more connected with our ego and being able to be human and function in the world of form. We need the left side of our brain just as much as we need the right side of our brain as a human spiritual being, but the only problem is we've just gotten so far away from the right side of our brain and our heart that we just kind of live up here in the left side of our brain and in our head. So that's not what this video was about. But sometimes as I'm tuning in and sitting with you in the beginning, things just come down, and so then I just share. Because it's important, and I'm probably repeating myself, and that's okay too, because there's so many things that we need to hear repeatedly and over again in different ways, and every day is different. So something I might have said last month, you might not have picked up on it, but now maybe you're like picking up on it. So I'm going to repeat myself and you just have to deal with it or not. So anyway, yeah, so when we meditate, we are connecting to the right side of our brain. We are slowing down our brain waves or our vrittis to go to the alpha state, which is just less thoughts. It's not like you're going to have no thoughts. I mean, it's great if you can go to that state of having no thoughts and suspend or hold that place, but realistically, as a human being in this world of form, it's pretty challenging to have no thoughts, right? So alpha state of meditation is just really kind of like slowing down the thoughts and arriving in the present moment. And being in the present moment is powerful, because being in the present moment is truly the only time where you are 100% in charge of your reality, because you're in control in the present moment. You are in the present. You're not living from a past memory, or you're not, in reminiscent of the past, or you're not in an anxious, worried state about the future. You're just present. And in the present is when we take back our power. And we came here to be creators. We came here to create physicality, to create material things, to create our dreams, to be in this world of form, in this time, space, continuum, here, now. But we cannot create if we're always living in the past or worrying about the future. That takes away our power. We can only have power, and we can only have peace of mind in the present moment. And that's why being in the present moment is so important. That's why meditation is so important. The meditation doesn't have to be sitting like I do with you in the beginning, sitting cross-legged, with a tall spine, closing our eyes, and just being here now. This is a form of meditation, but there's many ways that you can meditate. Some people meditate while they're washing the dishes. Some people meditate while they're painting. Some people meditate while they're playing music. Some people meditate while they're writing. I mean, there's all different ways to meditate. It's just being able to be in the present moment. So that's going to bring me to the next part of this video, which is actually what I was going to start with, but it's kind of bringing me here through a different route. In yoga philosophy, there's something that they call the Three Gunas. And guna just means a quality or state of being. And the brilliant enlightened yogis say that there's only 3 gunas that exist in the world. And they are the rajas, the tamas, and the sattva. So let's start with rajas. So the rajas gunas are when we are actually living in the left side of our brain. So it's like when we're doing, like say, you have like a to-do list and you got to go, or today I got to go to the supermarket, I get my laundry done, I got to do this errand, I got to do here, or you're at work and you're like, I got to do all these things, I got to get these things done today. You're just going, you're doing, you're living on the left side of your brain. You're like, okay, 1 o'clock, by 2 o'clock, I got to go here. That you get what I'm saying, right? We're in the rajas. We're like busy, 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 productive, go, go, go. Then we have the tamas, which is our unconscious state of being, which doesn't necessarily mean sleeping, although sleeping is a big part of it, but it could be you're awake, but you're unconscious and you're just doing things that will just check you out, like binge watching a Netflix series, or just drinking like lots of alcohol, or smoking, or just whatever brings you to that unconscious state of being where it's like you don't really want to pay attention, you just want to check out, because maybe you had a long, hard day, or just maybe this is your way of dealing with trauma or unresolved issues in your life, or whatever's going on. You just, I want to check out. I don't want to think about anything in my life, and I'm either going to sleep or I'm just going to like whatever I need to do to just be unconscious. Okay, that's tamas. And then we have sattva, which is the joyful, happy state, which is like, I'll give you an example, like when birds wake up in the morning, what do they do first thing? Is they sing. You know how you hear the birds singing first thing in the morning? They're in their sattva. right? They're singing, they're in their joy, and then they go out and look for their food or their worms or what do they have to do. But they wake up and the first thing they do is they celebrate and they sing and they're in their highest joy. So sattva is when we are in that state of being, when we're giving back to our soul, when we're filling up our spiritual tank, when we're doing things that give us joy, and sometimes life is so stressful or so intense, or maybe we're just in survival mode that we don't really have time for sattva. And I'll give you an example. Like, that's how I lived most of my life when I became a single parent at the age of 26. And, after my daughter's father committed suicide, I was so traumatized that I checked out. I couldn't deal with the trauma and the shock of what I just experienced. So I lived in Rajas and Tamas. And that was my way of dealing with my trauma. And it was like, I give you an example. Like, one day I remember I decided I was going to go to the mall, the biggest mall in Long Island, Roosevelt Field Mall, if anyone's from Long Island, and just spend my day shopping. And I got there before the mall even opened, and I sat in my car and I waited. And once the mall opened, I went in, and I just went from store to store buying whatever I wanted. I didn't even care how much things cost. I just bought things. When my hands were full, I'd walk out to my car, put it in my trunk, go back in, shop some more, and I did this till the mall closed. I mean, it was crazy. I had like the hugest credit card bill that it took me like years to pay off. And I remember when I got home and I pulled into my driveway, and my neighbors that lived downstairs, his name was Enzo, he just came out and he watched me like carrying all my bags up into the house, and he was just like shaking his head at me, like, and then I went to sleep. And so that was a time in my life where it was just like I couldn't deal, and plus I was so young and I didn't have the tools and I didn't have therapy. I didn't have anybody in my life to tell me like, hey, we got to talk about this, we got to process everything. It was just like I didn't have a way to process, so I lived in the Rajas and the Tamas. It was just either go and do on automatic pilot, or check out. And like it was like I didn't have time to cry or process my feelings. It was like nobody told me that was what I had to do. But even if somebody told me you need to do that, I'd be like, okay, like I don't have time to feel my feelings right now. I'm a single mother. Okay, I live in one of the most expensive places in the world. I have to work 2 jobs, take care of this little girl, and no, I don't have time to feel my feelings. I don't have time to cry. So that's where I lived for a good part of my life. So like I can relate to people that are like, yeah, okay, sattva sounds nice, but like I don't really have time for that now. But what I'm telling you is that you either got to make time, or your life, the universe will make you make time. Because what happened to me was, I'm sorry about this leaf blower, because I was living in this state of denial where I was just in go survival mode, I had to have a major, I'm really trying to have patience right now, but I want to freaking just yell at these people, and it's not their fault, but it's like, why is it always in the morning, on a Sunday morning, where people have to decide to like put on the noisiest, loudest street, tool and just go outside, and I can't do it. Fuck, thank you. Okay, so I was gonna say, okay, so if you don't make time, your higher self and the universe will make you make time. And I just happened to have like major catastrophe in my life where I was disabled. I was in so much physical pain. My fiance at the time just hit me and walked out, and like I was left crumpled up on the floor, like in emotional, mental, physical, spiritual pain. Like I just was crumpled up in a ball, and it was like finally it was like my higher self was like, are you going to listen now? Are you going to take time for yourself now, or are you just going to continue on this cycle of suffering, hurting yourself and like hurting your daughter? You know, like if you're not going to take care of yourself, how can you take care of this little girl? And yeah, that's how it happens, you know. And thing is that because I didn't have a mother in my life, like all I cared about was being a good mother for my daughter. And that really wasn't working out because so much trauma was happening in my life and so many things that were just so, I was just living in a state of anxiety and fear and trauma that I couldn't be a good mother to my daughter no matter how much I tried. And it wasn't until I was crumpled up on the floor in the middle of the night, just like done, just like I couldn't get up, you know. And it was like, but that wisdom came through, and it was like, you gotta fix yourself, you know, you gotta heal yourself, you gotta do it, you gotta take care of yourself now, stop putting this off, you know. It's just so many years. And that's when my journey began, and that was in 2003. That was 20 years ago, 2 decades. And it took me 2 decades, and it's like, trust me, I went back to that place on the floor over and over again. It's not like, oh, I got up from that point and I got up and I healed my life. It's like, you know, I don't want to tell you that. To be honest, it's like I circled back and I ended up crumpled up in a ball on the floor again and again and again. But it got better and it got easier. And I'm hoping that with what I'm sharing with you through my books, through speaking to you from my heart to your heart through these videos, is that possibly is that it might not take you as long and you might have to suffer as much as I did, because I believe that you don't have to suffer as much. I just, for some reason, I just had to suffer a lot. And I think also part of my suffering is so that I'm able to relate to others who are suffering, and like to tell you that I know what it's like to suffer and to be in those dark places where you feel like you have no hope and you just want to give up and die. But I'm telling you that there's always hope and there's always a way. And I don't like that I always have to come back into this place of where I'm like feeling emotional and crying. But I think it's important, and I'm going to be vulnerable with you and share my true self, because I think, and I know that it helps other people to feel okay, you know, because sometimes I think part of the problem is like we enclose ourselves in this like little bubble and like the shell, and we think like we're the only ones going through what we're going through, and like what's wrong with me and why am I struggling, and everybody else seems so happy and has it together. And it's like, that is so not true. That is so not true. Like, I'm telling you, like, you talk to people, and if they really open up and be authentic, people are struggling. Like, a lot of people have crosses that they're carrying, crosses to bear, and it might not show, and people do a good job hiding it, but like, you're not alone. You're not alone. And I wanted to just share that with you. And when I decided to make this video this morning, I had this idea of talking about the three gunas, but it led me, you know, down all these different paths. And I guess that's just how spirit works through me when I'm sharing. And anyway, so I'm going to end here. And I'd like to end in a powerful way. Just end in quiet strength and solitude. So let's just close our eyes and breathe into your beautiful heart now. So if you're listening to my words or listening to this transmission and you're feeling lots of stuff coming up and maybe you're crying, and that's okay. And actually, if you're crying, I'd be really happy. I'm happy when people cry because I know that you're releasing, maybe a layer, or just, it's good to cry. So I'm just going to hold space for you right now if you're crying. Crying with you. And I'm holding space. So even though I may be crying with you, I'm going to hold space of strength and of light and of truth and Archangel Michael's strength with that sword of fearless freedom and of truth, that no matter how much sadness or whatever you're feeling, pain that you're feeling, or however lost you may be, that there is a way out, that there is a way up. The light is always there and will carry you. It will carry you. You are being carried in those times when you're feeling the most loss or the most pain, is actually when you're being held and carried by the divine, by God, by your angels, by your higher self. You're being held, you're being raised, and you're being carried upward to the light. That I know. One time, when I was going through another dark time in my life, where I was going through that like almost 2-year depression, and this is going back now to like 2009. I had a dream, but it was like a premonition, because at the time I didn't understand why I had this dream, because everything was so good in my life, but then everything just fell apart really fast. And it just, by sharing this vision with you and this video with you right now, it reminded me of this dream that I had. And in the dream, I was I was being held in God's hands, and it was so vivid, and the feeling was so amazing and so beautiful. And I remember I was sharing it with my beloved at the time, with my husband at the time, my soulmate. And if you read my books, you'll know about this one story. And I was telling him about it, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, it was so beautiful, but like, I was so happy at the time, and like, my whole world fell apart, like just shortly right after that, and I just sunk down into like a 2-year depression. But it was like a premonition. I was just being held in God's hands, and it was so beautiful, and I was just rising so slowly and so gently, and I was being loved so much, and I remember just being enveloped in God's love, and just rising and just rising and just rising. And I thought, wow, that was so beautiful. And I had no idea how much I was going to need that at the time, But I just want you to, if you can imagine that, like, just being held in these beautiful big hands of God, and just like holding you and like encapsulating you in like this unconditional love and compassion, and I don't know, it's hard to describe in human words. It's just like feeling like you're just being melted, melted in love, and at the same time you're just rising up. You're not sinking down into the darkness, but you're rising to the light. So I want to leave you with that visualization, because that is how we are all being held right now, in so much love before I get too emotional, again, thank you for listening and being here, because without you, I wouldn't be able to share my purpose and why I came here, and I came here for you. So, thank you. Aloha. See you soon.
The soul fire in me, I give to you. Aho. To learn more about my offerings, visit my website at igniteyoursoulfire.com. Please subscribe to my channel and comment below, my soul family. Thank you for being here on our precious planet Gaia at this time. Your light matters. You matter. You make a difference in the world by just being you. Ahuiho. Until our hearts meet again. You are loved.